It is such a joy to be with each of you. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm going to bring up the big C word. Is that okay if I bring up this big C word today? The big C word called coronavirus. It's something that we've each had to face, and it might be something that we have said, wow, it seems that bad things just continue to happen. Am I right? Maybe you've asked in your kitchen or just as you've gone about your day, how could one more bad thing happen? I know that I've asked that. And we're going to play just a little game for a second. What I would like to do is I'm just going to say a couple of things that maybe might have felt hard during big C word. So if it happened to you, would you just raise your hand in your cute little box? Or even if you have the reaction button, you can do a high five if this has happened to you, just so we can see just how many hard things we've each been facing. Did you, in the past 4 or 5 months, have to cancel a vacation? That's hard. Did you were you not able to maybe hang out with your grandkids and maybe you were used to hanging out with them? That's really hard. Maybe you became a homeschool mom or you were helping a homeschool mom when she wasn't prepared to be a homeschool mom. That's hard. Did that happen to anybody, helping a homeschool mom or becoming a homeschool mom? Maybe you weren't able to actually go and see a loved one. Did that happen to anybody? Physically not able to go and see them, maybe in a facility? That's hard. Maybe you even lost a loved one. Maybe not to COVID, but maybe to some other broken sickness that we face. Did that happen to anybody? It's no wonder that we're asking the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Now, I have to tell you, I do not own the real estate on pain or in suffering. There's far too much real estate out in the world of pain and suffering, is there not? The world is too big. But I am going to share just my past 7 years and 2 things that bombarded me in my own pain and my own suffering, and literally made me ask every day, God, are you good? Can you even be good? How do bad things keep happening to good people? Now, I have to lay this out there. I quote unquote use the word good. If I brought my children in here and they sat in front of you, I guarantee they would tell you that I've lost my temper. I certainly am no extraordinary chef creating beautiful meals every night. I am not a perfect mom, nor can I even try to be. The way I use good is we're all trying the best we can, right? Why do bad things keep happening to people that are trying the best we can? So for me, I want us to go back to 7 years ago where I had these beautiful dreams of my mom getting to be a grandma to my first little girl, Collins. Just the most beautiful dreams. Because you guys, my mom was the mommest of all moms. I was the senior in high school still going to high school cafeteria with a brown paper sack and a note from my mom. The mommest of all moms. Do any of you guys know them? Or you guys might be them. Well, I couldn't wait to see her be the Grammiest grandma of all times. And what happened, we went out to go visit her with my newborn baby and all these dreams. And she wasn't connecting with us. She was confused and she was dizzy all the time. And she felt so disconnected. And my dreams were slowly being crushed. And one day, I can't even tell you what it was, but there was a straw that broke the camel's back. And I did what any fearless leader would do. I picked up my car keys and I went to Target. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't know what else to do. I was so sad that my expectation wasn't meeting up with my reality. It was breaking my heart. When I came back from my trip to Target, my dad, in true Langdon fashion, called a family meeting around the couches so that we could talk about what was going on. He did say, things are confusing with your mom. She is very dizzy and she's not acting like herself. That was so hard. Fast forward to 3 years. For 3 full years, we went to doctor after doctor. We tried diets, we tried counseling, we tried supplements, everything to make my mom better. Wasn't until 3 years we finally had a diagnosis that she had what's called corticobasal syndrome. 3,000 Americans out of 320 million have corticobasal syndrome. You better believe I was asking God why this was my story. It took her body folded up in ways a body should never fold. And it took her personality. She always knew who I was. I was always her daughter. But she was a stranger to me, not able to even say things like, I'm so proud of you and I love you so much. That was painful then, and it's still painful now. She went to heaven on February 7th, and although I know she is with Jesus, glory soaking, there's still pain, and I still miss her, and I wish she could come over for dinner tonight. That was bad thing number one. The second thing was, remember that senior in high school with her lunch bags that her mom packed? That senior in high school had one dream, and it was to be a pastor. I wanted to fall in love with a pastor, and I wanted to go and work inside a church. And some people giggle when I say that, like, oh my gosh, really? That was your dream? I can't explain it. That was my dream. That's what I wanted to do. And things were looking really up when I married a pastor. I thought, gosh, God, this is great news. We went and served at a church in Houston, and then we went and served at a church in Kansas City. And as we walked that road, things just got harder and harder and more unhealthy. We had to seek counseling and walk through why was this feeling this way and why was this affecting us this way. Because of a lot of wisdom and coaching and insight, my husband and I decided to, just for right now, lay aside that dream and move into a new dream. But I can still tell you that laying aside a dream is hard, is it not? It can feel painful and a little bit like a death. That felt really hard for me. That was pain thing number 2. But all the while, all through all of this, I had some really close girlfriends that would say, Whitney, how are you so happy? I don't understand. They were concerned that I wasn't processing my emotions or my fears or my grief. And I certainly was, but I also was able to put into practice some specific things that honestly could kept me healthy. Do you guys want, I just want to give some practical tips. Is that okay if we do that? Just some practical ways to actually continue to live happy in the midst of lots of pain. Can we do that? Okay. So here were some things that just kept me happy, because quite honestly, in the midst of my mom moving toward heaven, in the midst of laying down a dream, I still danced in the kitchen with my husband. I still went for long runs with my golden doodle outside, soaking it up. I still had really good friends around my dinner table, and we ate good food and we laughed together. The first reason is because, quite honestly, there's an anchor that kept me really happy in the midst of it all. And then there were 4 specific things. These are the ways to have a big, happy life. The first is L. I don't know about you, but I believe in a God. I believe in a God. And since I believe that there is a God who made me, and not just made me, but so loves me, I want to listen to him. And the way that I get to listen to him is I open up the Bible as much as I can. Not because he forces me to, but because he loves me and I want to read about it. The second in living a big, happy life is I, which is intentional gratitude. It's just being able to focus our mind on what's good, right? When, oh my gosh, coronavirus is canceling everything. Here's a practical way to do this. I love this. My mentor taught me this. When you sit down with a girlfriend, or maybe when you text her, or maybe when you're chatting on the phone, before you go into all the headlines of all the news, ask her this one question, or maybe start with it at your dinner table tonight. What's bringing you great joy? When you just set a conversation with that standard, what's bringing you great joy, you get to set up a conversation based on the good things that are happening in your life. The third is F. So you have listen to God, intentional gratitude. F is focused movement. Our bodies were made to move, right? And right now, the world is saying shelter in place, but thank goodness we have a great big outdoors that we can maybe go for a nice long walk. Or just maybe it's walking up and down our stairs even. Our bodies were made to move and they help our minds. And the last is to enjoy one thing. As women, a lot of times we can say, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And yet maybe we can create space to enjoy one thing. And guess what? You have permission to change what that one thing is on the daily. Maybe it's cooking dinner. Maybe it's calling a friend. Maybe it's writing a note to someone that you know wants love. Those are some really practical ways to continue to live a big, happy life in the midst of pain. But I want to share something with you. There was one thing that kept me anchored in happiness. And it's that there's a God who loves me so much. And this wild God who loves me so much, sometimes he does wild things. In his word, his love letter to us, it says to us in Hosea 2:14-15, this is God speaking to you. Therefore, I am going to persuade her, lead her to the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her vineyards back to her and make the valley of Achor a gateway of hope. Friend, what I want you to consider is maybe your hard thing, maybe your wilderness, which is defined in the dictionary as an uncultivated and uninhabited time. Sounds a lot like 2020, is your gateway to hope. That is the God we serve, that he will bring us to the wilderness so that he will whisper in our ear good things. Now, maybe you already know that God, and maybe you know him really well. And what I would love, if you already know that God, and you want to maybe have a little bit more happiness in your day-to-day life, would you do one thing for me, a practical step forward? In the chat box, would you write one of those, LIFE, listen to God, intentional gratitude, focus movement, and enjoy one thing in the chat box saying, I want to try this week. I want to try a little bit more of this week. Go for it. Write it in the chat box. Therefore, you're putting forth a little bit of effort saying, I want to do a little bit more of this. And for my friends that are asking the question, why have bad things happened to me? I would love if you considered with me that there is a God who loves you so much that he's willing to take you to the wilderness so that he can drown out the headlines and all of the loud noises and woo you and persuade you to him, the only one who will satisfy your heart. I just would love if you would consider that. And friend, Stonecroft has an entire website page just to explain this God who so loves you that he sent Jesus Christ to save your soul so that he can be with you now and to eternity. So if you want more information about this God and that Jesus, you can go to that website right there, stonecroft.org/know-God, and you can read all about this Jesus. And then if you make a decision and you say, maybe there is a God who leads me to a wilderness so that it is my gateway of hope, then we would love if you filled out this form and let us know if you got to know him. Thank you so much for letting me be here. And I hope and pray you guys each can live a really big, happy life.